everyone. We're so psyched that you chose to spend a little bit of your time with you and talking with us about the Office of Student Fellowships and Research, what we do, and hopefully how we can help you. So my name is Cindy Stocks. I am the director of the office, and I'm joined by Corey, and I'll let Corey introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. I'm the Associate Director of Student Fellowships and Research.
All right. So, you'll see our contact information at the end of this, at the end of the session. We are also planning on sharing this PowerPoint with Bethany, so over in the CXD. So our hope is that, because there's some minutia to the stuff that we're going to talk about, that you can just really focus on like listening and sinking into this and not have to worry too much about capturing, is this something I apply to as a junior or a senior? You can just get a copy of this from her if that's something that you think will be useful. So again, if you haven't already checked in, there was that QR code on the slide that was up. There's the QR code. Just snap that with your phone. And there also is a link at the very top of the chat that you can use in order to check in. We'll be sharing that information with the folks over in the CXD. Okay, so we have a little less than an hour with you, and we thought we'd start off by talking about our goals and what we're hoping to accomplish.
Yeah, so goals for today's session, we basically want to just introduce you to who we are, what our office does, and how we can serve as a resource for you in helping to navigate this kind of wide world of fellowship. So we're going to start off by defining what a fellowship even is, since this term can refer to many different types of opportunities. We're also going to highlight the fellowships that we advise students on, both the research awards offered here at Bowdoin, as well as nationally competitive fellowships. We're going to show you the profiles of a few different fellowship winners from recent years. We'll talk about some additional resources and tips for applying, and then we're going to head into our Q&A. So to kick things off, I think Cindy is going to start by defining what exactly we mean by this slightly ambiguous term fellowship.
Right. So if you've heard the term and kind of have the sense like it's something good, but you don't really know what it is, you are not alone. And so our hope is to demystify that a little bit. So it basically is a very general term, and it's used to mean lots of different things, which adds to the confusion. It is basically money, funding to support either your academic trajectory here at Bowdoin or possibly grad school. It can be a kind of professional development experience for yourself. And there's even one that is really kind of funds a personal opportunity. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So through our office, there are opportunities to receive funding to support research done here on campus. You can also receive money to support your undergraduate tuition, graduate study, either in the US or abroad. This Exploring a Passion project around the world. Corey's going to talk about that a little later on. That's the Watson Fellowship. Teaching English abroad. So it is money to support a whole wide range of things. And because there are a lot of different opportunities, part of the trick is not just applying willy-nilly, but it is really being thoughtful about what is the right opportunity for you. And kind of figuring that out can take some time. So it's great that you're here as sophomores learning about these opportunities, starting to educate yourself about what the process is, because you do want to start early. And the last thing I would say is, by and large, these are, some more so than others, these can be competitive. And so we really encourage all the students who are applying through our office to focus on the value of going through the application process. regardless of which one of these opportunities that you write about, you're going to have to write a pretty succinct plan about what you've done to date, who you are, and what you hope to do. And having to put that down on paper in a really succinct way forces you to think really clearly about those types of things. That is an immensely transferable skill that will help you whether or not you are interviewing, whether you're writing, an application for grad school 3 or 4 or 5 years from now. These are really transferable skills. So while we always hope our students are successful, we also really, really, really focus on all that you gain out of going through this process. So that's something we really focus on, as you can tell, because I'm really focusing on it here. So with that kind of broad overview about what a fellowship is, I'll turn it over to Corey to talk about some funding opportunities through our office that are funded by Bowdoin College.
Great. Yeah, so we'll touch on national fellowships in just a bit. We just want to go over the different internal awards that we offer through our office. We offer a number of awards both during the summer and throughout the academic year. We'll start with the summer. Every year, there are typically around 200 or so students who are engaged in independent, faculty-mentored research with the help of funding from Bowdoin. Many of these awards are offered at the departmental level. So there are various academic departments that administer their own fellowship programs for summer research. And then our office also has its own fellowship program for summer research. We typically make around 70 awards every year to students in all disciplines. Our fellows receive $480 a week and can select 8, 9, or 10 weeks of research. So your overall award package will just depend on your fellowship duration. Students are also eligible for an additional $500 in expense reimbursement. And if you want to live on campus, you get summer housing at no cost to you. So your award package could total over $5,000. That application is now live on our website. It's a 2-phase application. Phase 1 is going to be due Friday, February 11th at noon. This is more like an intent to submit. It won't take you long to fill out. When you do submit it, you'll receive an email with a link to the Phase 2 application, and that's going to be due Tuesday, February 22nd at noon. And then we'll be notifying applicants with a decision in mid-March. So that's kind of the summer side. Switching things over to the academic year. So again, we offer a number of awards throughout the academic year to, again, support student research. We have a mini grant program, which provides up to $800 to be used towards research expenses such as lab equipment or books. It can also be used for travel associated with a research project. So let's say you're invited to a national conference to present your research findings, or you need to travel to an archive to conduct primary research, we can support that. So mini grants are due on the 15th of each month, September through May. Then we also have a fall research award. This is only offered once in the fall, but you can actually use it at any time during the academic year and even the following summer. And I kind of view it as like a souped up mini grant. So it's up to $2,000 to support student research and travel. However, we typically tend to prioritize juniors and seniors who are doing some sort of independent study or honors project. We typically make around 15 to 20 of these every year. So there's a lot more info on our website if you're interested, but that's kind of the internal awards in a nutshell. And I think with that, Cindy, we'll switch gears and move on to national fellowships.
Right. So everything that Corey was just talking about, which are great opportunities, Bowdoin holds the money, and people at Bowdoin are the people who are making the decisions about who we will be able to fund. So now we're kind of switching gears to these national awards. So for these, the money is held by entities outside of Bowdoin. And but there may be kind of a pre-internal process that involves Bowdoin. The ultimate decision about who receives these awards or not is decided by a group of people outside of Bowdoin. So our office deals with both what Corey just talked about, is where Bowdoin controls the money and the awards, switching gears now to talk about these national awards. Within the category of national awards or national fellowships, there's two subcategories. There's one category is called direct apply, and any student can apply to those opportunities on their own. They don't need to go through the institution. You may get a letter of recommendation or something from somebody within the institution, but the institution doesn't have to endorse your application. The second category are those that require some sort of institutional endorsement. And there's a lot of detail here, but just in broad strokes, that institutional endorsement can look very different. Sometimes we have to interview you, sometimes we don't, sometimes we have to write a letter of institutional endorsement, sometimes we don't. But it's basically the institution has to touch your application. You cannot apply without our involvement. So we're going to talk about these opportunities in a little bit more detail in the next few minutes. But within this grouping of those that require institutional endorsement, which is the group of opportunities that our office focuses on, because you can't apply without us. Those opportunities can support undergraduate study, there are graduate study options, as well as what we call experiential options. And we're going to talk about those in greater detail. So the big takeaway is some you can apply to on your own, some you have to go through our office, and one is not better than the other. It's just the way the organizers have set them up. And I think that kind of covers it. So we're going to start by looking at some of these national fellowships that you can apply to as a junior. So these would be things you would be thinking about next year. And if you receive these awards, they provide funding to help with your Bowdoin expenses. And we're going to start off with a Udall scholarship. So you can see you can apply as a sophomore or junior. And this is really designed to recognize and support two groups of people, either students like Bowdoin's Kelly Navarro, who's strongly committed to a career in environmental, related to the environment, that they have a really strong leadership profile and have a GPA of B or better. The other category that this scholarship supports are Native American students who are interested in tribal public policy, who also have a strong leadership profile and also have a GPA of 3.0 or higher. They make about 50 awards every year in those two categories combined. And if you are successful, you get about $7,000 for your Bowdoin expenses. You also get to participate in a really fantastic week-long leadership institute the summer after you receive the award. And you also become part of a really powerful network. If we had more time, I could regale you with a few stories about just how powerful that network is. But trust me, that's a big benefit of the award as well. And in order to apply for this one, you have to be either a US citizen or a permanent resident.
So another one of these awards that we advise students on is the Goldwater Scholarship. So Goldwater makes a number of awards to students who are interested in pursuing STEM research careers. Recipients receive $7,500 towards their undergraduate expenses. And while this monetary award is really nice, I would say the real value in being named a Goldwater Scholar is the honor of being a scholar, right? So when you're applying to graduate programs, being able to have this distinction on your application will make you pretty competitive. As a scholar, you'll also have access to a number of resources provided by the Goldwater community, and you're able to network with past scholars. So there's just a lot of benefits with this award. To be eligible, you do have to be a US citizen. You have to be a sophomore or junior, and you need to have quite a high GPA. So we pulled a sampling here of popular direct apply options for these undergraduate opportunities. Again, you don't have to apply through Bowdoin to be considered for these. You apply directly to the program, but we're still happy to chat about these types of opportunities if you do have questions about them. So there's the Critical Language Scholarship. This is an intensive summer language study program over the summer for 7 to 10 weeks. And you choose a foreign country where the language is deemed critical by the US government. So some examples of this include Korean, Russian, Arabic. I think there's 13 total. The Boren Scholarship. So this is another intensive summer language study that's pretty popular. It's 12 weeks during the summer. And you study in a foreign country outside of Western Europe, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. The Davis Projects for Peace. This is a program administered by Middlebury. You receive $10,000 to conduct a summer-long community-driven service project, either here in the US or abroad. Projects should involve grassroots activities that address root causes of conflict and promote peace. And finally, there's the PPIA. So this is the Public Policy and International Affairs program. And it's an intensive summer program in public service for juniors from underrepresented groups. So again, these are just a few examples of what's out there. We're just scratching the surface here. And we actually do have a bunch more popular direct apply options on our web, so make sure to check that out.
So that was, a quick sampling of national fellowships that you can apply that can, if you are a recipient, help you to kind of during your undergraduate years. We started off by talking about some national fellowships and then Corey ended with some direct apply options. Now we're going to look at another group and we're going to do it in the same way. We're going to look at those that you can first apply to as a junior, but these are going to be opportunities that support graduate study. Then we're going to look at those that support, and then we'll look at some direct applies.
Oops.
So the Truman Scholarship is a national fellowship. This is one that requires an institutional endorsement and one that you apply to as a junior. It is looking to recognize and support, juniors who have a real commitment to a career in public service. These are people who want to be change agents and have a pretty strong leadership record. People who have seen problems and at Bowdoin or beyond have taken it upon themselves to try and address those problems. If you receive the award, you receive $30,000 toward graduate study. You also get a week-long leadership training at the end of your junior year. You also get to participate or get paid to intern in DC at the kind of agency, bureau, nonprofit, pretty much of your choice. You also get a lot of help with grad school application. And once again, connection to a really, really, really powerful network that will pay off for decades to come. You do have to be a US citizen. There's a little bit more detail there. If you're a non-citizen resident of American Samoa, or you expect citizenship by the date of the award, then you are still eligible to apply. And those recipients are expected to commit at least 3 out of the 7 years following their completing their degree towards careers in service. This typically isn't a problem because the people who are first of all, eligible and the strongest applicants are already planning on pursuing careers related to public service. So you can see here Praise Hall from the class of 20 received this award. Praise was really interested in our educational system and making it more equitable. She was one of 60 juniors from across the country who received this award. And we're super proud of her for that.
Okay, so another great graduate fellowship is the Beinecke. Beinecke offers more than $30,000 to students who are interested in graduate study in either the humanities, arts, or social sciences. This really isn't an award for those interested in professional schools like law, business, medicine. Rather, Beinecke is looking for students who want to pursue a research-focused terminal degree. I should say it is pretty competitive. There's around 20 scholars selected every year, and every participating school can only nominate one student each year as a finalist. Our last finalist was Josiah Oakley. Cindy, did you work with Josiah? Or was that
I did not. Janice did.
Okay. I wasn't prepared to talk about his profile, but I know he is interested in teaching at the college level, and I think he was a music major.
He was a music major and he's really interested in voice and how it showed up in music, and kind of assumptions that are made about voice.
Yeah. So to be eligible for Beinecke, you do have to be a junior, you have to be a US citizen, and you do have to be on aid.
Okay, so those two options that we just talked about, Truman, which is the one that is for a career in public service, or the Beinecke, which supports grad school in the humanities, social sciences, and arts, are both opportunities that you can only apply for as a junior. Now we're kind of shifting into opportunities that support graduate study, but you would apply as a senior or as an alum. So we could easily spend, an hour talking about any one of these opportunities. And don't worry, we're not going to do that. But what the goal in showing you this slide is just to let you know that these opportunities exist. And if anything catches your attention, we really encourage you to come, and talk with us one-on-one about whether or not this could be a fit for you and how best to go about the application process. So the takeaway from this slide is that there are fellowships, national fellowships, that will support graduate study in the UK. See the list here: Churchill, Marshall, Rhodes, St. Andrews, Gates, Cambridge. Some of them are associated with very specific institutions in the UK. Some require institutional endorsement, some don't. To, just be transparent, these are probably, of the national fellowships that we work with, these are probably the most competitive, and GPA is quite important for these. We've said that a lot. We're going to talk about some in a minute where GPA is not important. So if you don't have, if your GPA is not where you want to be, please don't tune out and think none of this applies to me, because we've got something for you too. Going on, so those are opportunities that support graduate study in the UK. The Mitchell Scholarship supports graduate study in Ireland. It is named in honor of Maine's Senator George Mitchell, and really looking for people who are interested in being in Ireland and have a really specific reason for being in Ireland. The next two are opportunities to do graduate study in China. For both of these, whether the Yangqing Academy or the Schwarzman Scholarship, you do not need to speak Chinese. Those two have kind of different profiles, and we can talk in a one-on-one setting a little bit more about you and which one might be a better fit for you. The Knight Hennessy is situated at Stanford University. It's looking for people who can outthink, outwork, and outcare others. Really looking for people who are wanting to think in a very interdisciplinary way about ways to solve big problems that we as, a global community are facing. So again, a whole potpourri of options there. If anything there resonates with you, makes you a little curious, please come talk with us. Happy to kind of drill down into the details and see which, when we know more about your personal background, is it could be a fit for you. So we just wanted to kind of profile a few of our past recipients who have received these awards. When you go to any of these websites, it can look as if it's just impossible, but here's evidence that it is really possible for Bowdoin students to receive these awards, even though they're competitive. So you can see Adaya received the Gates Cambridge. Bill Della Rosa received a Marshall Scholarship for study at Oxford. Zoe Dietrich received the Churchill. That's one that is situated at Cambridge University and is for students who are interested in STEM research. And Jerry received the Schwarzman Scholarship, and that is for a one-year graduate study in Beijing at Tsinghua University. And I will just note of this slide, 3 of these students, Adaya, Zoe, and Jerry, were our inaugural scholars for those particular opportunities. They were the first Bowdoin student to receive these opportunities. So your face, your name could be here next, even if it's an opportunity or a fellowship that a Bowdoin student hasn't yet received. All right, so now we want to shift gears. So we've talked about opportunities that can give you some money for your Bowdoin expenses. We've talked about opportunities that can support graduate study. First, those that you apply for as a junior and those that you can apply for as an alum. And now we're shifting to kind of a different bucket of opportunities, and we call these experiential opportunities. They're all opportunities that you would apply for at least as a senior, and in some cases as a senior or as an alum. So again, we often, and later in the spring, we will hold, info sessions about each of these opportunities, just focused on Fulbright, just focused on Watson, and we'll easily spend an hour talking about each one of those opportunities. Again, our goal here is not to make you an expert in what these opportunities offer, but to plant the seed that these fellowships exist. So you start to explore, come and talk with us more, maybe come to one of those info sessions that we'll be holding later in the spring, where we'll talk in greater detail about these particular opportunities. So for Fulbright, this is one that you can apply to as a senior, the very, very, very beginning of your senior year, or as an alum. And if you are successful, you'll spend about 1 academic year in a foreign country, and you will either be teaching English to students of that host country. Depending on the country, it could be anywhere from elementary grade level students up to college level students. Or you could receive a study research grant, which would enable you to either undertake full-time graduate study, it would enable you to do full-time independent research, or some combination of the two. This is a program of the US State Department, and the mission of the Fulbright is to foster greater cross-cultural understanding between the people of the US and the people, citizens from countries around the world. So that mission is first and foremost when you're thinking about Fulbright. They are looking for cultural ambassadors, and whether you're teaching English or doing a study research grant, it's in service to that mission. I would say that as a Fulbrighter, all your expenses will be covered, your travel to the host country, you give a living stipend. If you're taking classes, that's covered. As it says over on the left side of the screen, this is one where you end up no richer, no poorer than when you started out. I think, again, I could say more, but I think I'll leave it for there at Fulbright.
So moving on to Watson. So Watson is a pretty unique one. Every year they award $36,000 to 40 students of what they call unusual promise. And these students have the chance to travel the world for a year after they graduate, exploring a topic that has deep meaning to them. So really at its core, Watson is a passion project. It's not a research project. It's not a year of service, right? It's really a year of independent, purposeful exploration. Unlike Fulbright, which, as Cindy was saying, you can apply to as both a senior and an alum, with Watson, you only have one shot to apply in your senior year. If you're interested in Watson at all, I'm the lead advisor on that, so please feel free and come and talk to me about that.
And what is true of Fulbright and Watson, these are options, these are fellowships where GPA is not that important. Having a strong GPA never hurts, but for Fulbright and for Watson, they care a lot more about your character, about how you are a fit for their program than they do about GPA. So, and those are two really great options. Lastly, we wanted to talk about the Gaither Junior Fellows. This is, as Fulbright and Watson and Gaither Junior Fellows, these are all opportunities that require you to go through the institution. They require institutional endorsement, but they're very different. So Fulbright, you're in one country. Watson, you're traveling around to multiple countries. And the Gaither Junior Fellows, you are spending 1 year working as at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, which is a think tank located in DC. And you are working alongside a senior fellow. The pay is, I think they keep upping it every year. It's about $42,000, I think, plus benefits. And it is an amazing opportunity to be in that environment. If you are somebody who is interested in international relations, if you are like doing research, if you're interested in, international policy, this could be a great opportunity for you. This is one where GPA is more important. Just to be transparent, you can apply as a senior, or in some cases when you are out of Bowdoin for 1 year. Okay, I think that kind of covers those. And here is just like before we gave you what we've been talking about are opportunities where you have to work through our office, have the institution endorse your application. Here's a sampling of direct apply options. So while a Fulbright is a way to get to France and to teach English, but requires the institutional process, there also is a French government English teaching assistantship, which places you in France, has you teaching, another great opportunity. Princeton in Africa, there's also a Princeton Asia, a Princeton in Latin America. I'll talk about Princeton Africa. It's pretty much the same for Asia and Latin America as well. This organization has established relationships with nonprofits primarily in their region of interest. They select fellows who then are embedded in those nonprofits. So it is really a year-long service fellowship. Great opportunity, great experience. The Pickering Graduate Foreign Affairs Fellowship is graduate school support designated for groups that are typically underrepresented in the State Department. This is an initiative to ensure that the State Department reflects the diversity of the US. And that is in all kinds. It could be in terms of disabilities. It can be in terms of geography. It can be in terms of race, ethnicity, gender identity, the whole gamut of diversity. And then lastly, there is the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship. This is a very, very generous fellowship. It can be worth up to $120,000 to support students who are interested in pursuing graduate study in the STEM fields. Again, this is just the very tip of the iceberg when it comes to opportunities that are direct apply. There are links on our website that provide a lot more options, and we can help you navigate that. But we just want to kind of highlight for you how there are really great direct apply options in addition to the opportunities which require institutional endorsement that our office focuses on. And then lastly, in this section, we wanted to kind of, again, highlight some of our Bowdoin students who have been successful and have received some of these experiential national fellowships. Corey, do you want to talk about Archer for just a second?
Yeah, so Archer was our most recent Watson recipient. So again, this is, students are pursuing a passion project, and Archer was really interested in public transit, in particular underground rail. And there were a lot of different elements and layers to his project. Like he was interested in architecture and design and graphic design, but his big overall abstract question was how does underground transit contribute to the overall urban fabric of a place?
Interesting project, such an interesting project.
So interesting.
And then you can see here Ayana, who received a Fulbright English teaching assistantship to Taiwan. Elwad Wirar, who received the study research to go to Trinidad and Tobago. She was looking at their educational system, and particularly a test that was required in their system, and looking at questions of equity around that test. And then Will Ossoff from the class of 2015, who was our most recent Gaither Junior Fellow. So there's lots more students who have received these awards, but we just wanted to kind of highlight a few, again, hopefully just to inspire you.
All right, so what I think you've probably all gleaned from looking at these slides is that eligibility requirements for every national fellowship vary across the board, right? So each one looks for a different profile of students, and part of that profile includes citizenship. So some are open to citizens of all countries, whereas others are only open to US citizens, and we provided examples of each here on the slide. We also have a number of databases I wanted to mention that are up on our website, and these allow you to search for different fellowship opportunities. And we've also included here some additional resources for non-US citizens and undocumented students. So again, these all live on our website.
So hopefully we have kind of piqued your interest in some of these opportunities. You're interested in exploring them more. We invite you to come and talk with us, as well as reaching out to other resources on campus. Certainly talking with past recipients through Bowdoin. They're always happy to talk with you. Your professors are great resources, as well as the folks in the Center for Learning and Teaching. And students often ask, okay, I'm really interested in fellowship opportunity X. What can I do to make myself be the strongest possible applicant? And the advice is usually the same. It is to, go deep, find what you're interested in and really take advantage of your opportunity to explore that deeply. But also go broad, find an opportunity where you can stretch yourself, do something that makes you a little uncomfortable, as well as giving back to the community in some way, being of service. It'll give you more to write about in your application. We really encourage you to, start early, think about what might be the right fit for you, to think about the value of applying. As we have here written here, no one receives an award who doesn't compete. And if you go into the competition thinking, I'm going to get something out of this, whether or not I get the award, that's the right mindset to have. It does take time to put these applications together. You will have to, revise your application multiple times, but that's just part of the process and that's part of what makes it valuable. And we really encourage you to get to know faculty, take advantage of their office hours, the relationships that they build with you through those help them to write stronger, more personalized letters of recommendation and that can really help you. So we realize that this is happening while the other students are still on break. And so we wanted to find a way to have the student voice present. So what we have next is a video that we put together several years ago so that you could hear some Bowdoin students talking about going through the fellowship process.
Yes, applying for a fellowship. Pretty exciting process.
Applying for a fellowship was really rewarding, but it was also really challenging.
Applying for a fellowship gave me the opportunity to really reflect on what I love and what I want to do in the future.
Applying for a fellowship was nice in that it forced me to think about what I wanted to do beyond Bowdoin and actually think about where I was going to go.
It was a great way to see how my interests at Bowdoin connected to things outside of Bowdoin and maybe what I want to do after I graduate.
It's provided me a chance for me to reflect on my trajectory throughout these past years and all the things that I've done.
Really eye-opening in terms of learning a lot about myself.
So it's been really helpful at a transitional period to be forced to come up with specifics and really deal with kind of the material problems of putting these plans together that are sort of easy to dream of, but then the difficult part is realizing them.
Applying for a fellowship can be scary, but it's really great to have the support from Bowdoin.
Working with a great bunch of people, and they wanted me to succeed as much as I did.
I found it really helpful to talk to my professors and my advisor and Cindy for suggestions and areas where I could research and look into for ideas.
To have my professors that I work with personally, they gave me tips on my application and like what I'm thinking about in the future career-wise and stuff like that.
Talked me through a lot of things, not just with my writing, but with my thinking, which was really helpful.
Working with the Student Fellowships Research Office, it's been quite nice because they're really accessible and they help you a lot, collect your thoughts and really narrow down what you want to apply for.
The SFR was really helpful, honestly, throughout the whole process. They were so friendly and approachable, and also just really understanding.
And after the application process, I can honestly say I've never felt more guided in my general life direction.
I guess my advice would be to embrace the process as you're going through, and you end up hitting a lot of walls as far as what am I really doing, what am I really sort of wanting, and what am I after, and taking those in stride and allowing yourself to discover that maybe your path is different from you assumed, and allowing the process of applying for a fellowship to sort of put your past experiences in a new light that may lead you somewhere where you're not expecting.
Just talk to Cindy and really lay out what you're passionate about and they will help you out.
Don't be afraid to seek help of professors when you're working on essays because they're a great resource.
And the first time you do a draft, your second draft, start over completely.
My advice would be to get started on it early.
Just to start early.
So definitely start early.
Start early.
Get started early.
Start early.
Try to start as early as you can.
Start early.
Get an early head start on this.
I think the earlier you start, the better chance.
Start early. You can't emphasize that enough.
No matter what fellowship you get, if you get one, hopefully, it's going to be a great experience. So
just give it a go and you have nothing to lose.
Start early.
The start early at the end always cracks me up. And we have to say, We didn't ask them to say start early. They all said that on their own. So this is us. This is with our website highlighted there. I'm really happy to kind of announce that starting on February 7th, there'll be a new person joining our team, Julia Littlefield, who's a Bowdoin alum and undertook a Fulbright in Austria. And she'll be working with us in student fellowships as well as with the off-campus study team. So we really encourage you to come talk with us, let us help you kind of explore these options and see if something is a fit for you and see if something will help move you in the direction that you want to move in. So that concludes, our presentation part. We have just a few minutes left for questions. So feel free, you can unmute yourself and just share your question. You can put it in the chat if that is easier for you. Who will be the brave soul to ask the first question? I will add that on our website, if you go to the contact us, make an appointment link, we have an online scheduling tool, and that's an easy, convenient way for you to see how our availability matches up with your schedule and to make an appointment. Okay, question. Would pursuing research help make myself a better applicant for a fellowship? Great question. Great question. So it depends. If you are interested in doing a Fulbright study research, undertaking a research project would absolutely make you a stronger candidate. If you are applying for one of those grad school options, would probably absolutely help to make you a better applicant. If you were applying for, say, Watson, maybe not. It all depends. If you were applying for, say, a critical language or for the Fulbright English teaching assistantship, maybe, but maybe not, depending on what your other options were. So your question really highlights like how there is no one right recipe and how we have to look at each student's profile, what they've done to date, and what option they're hoping to receive, and then thinking about what are the kind of the weaknesses and how might you fill them, or given what your background is, what are you already positioned to be a great candidate for? So I hope that kind of answers your question. Okay, Izzy has said, any tips on how we can balance putting in time to write these applications and doing our everyday schoolwork? I'm interested in many of these opportunities, but it feels overwhelming, to devote extra time to applying to them. Really, really good point. So I would say the trick is twofold. It is being really thoughtful about what you want to apply for and not applying to, a handful of these. Narrow it down to 1, 3, maybe tops. Writing your first one will be the hardest. You'll learn a lot in that application process that you'll be able to transfer over to the other options. And I think that's why everybody said start early, so that you can be nibbling away at this versus having and can kind of squeeze it in with your other work. And you get lots of support from our office. We will give you lots of feedback to help you write the strongest possible application. Corey, is there anything that I've forgotten to say?
I don't think so. I mean, definitely start early. I will say, many of these deadlines fall in early fall. So you will be working with us throughout the summer. So there's a little extra time there to consider many of these opportunities, but definitely start early, make an appointment with us sometime this semester if you are interested in any of these opportunities, and we can chat more.
Yeah, and once we know what you're, so first of all, that's a really good point, Corey, about so many of them being due early in the fall. And so we're working, our office is really busy over the summer. And when we meet with you in a one-on-one setting, we can really look at what the timeline would be for you. Okay, I think the questions have petered out. We want to give you a little bit of a break before your next session. So huge thank you for spending part of your morning with us, for your interest. It's been great having you here. We hope we'll get to meet with you in person and one-on-one over the coming semester.